Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 18. Let's focus on verses 23 through 25. Saul's servants reported these words directly to David, but David replied, "Is it trivial in your sight to become the king's son-in-law? I'm a poor man who is common." The servants reported back to Saul, "These are the words that David spoke." And then Saul replied, "Say this to David, the king desires no other bride price except 100 Philistine foreskins to take revenge on his enemies." Actually, Saul intended to cause David's death at the hands of the Philistines. 1 Samuel 18, verses 23 through 25. Now the Lord was obviously protecting David. Everything that David had put his hand to was successful. David had won the hearts of all of Israel and Judea. And even Saul's own son, Jonathan, was on the bandwagon, to the extent that he gave David his royal vestments. Now, in ancient times, this was unheard of. Significant because the clothes signify the person and his position. Hence, Jonathan renounced his position as the crown prince. So far as his own will goes, Jonathan deferred the right of succession to his best friend, David. Now, this was the level of success that God was giving David, and such was the level of character that Jonathan possessed. Now, how many politicians have ever withdrawn from an election, gave a press conference and said, "Hey, we just feel that our opponent is actually a better man for the job"? No, royal leaders simply do not transfer their crown rights to an up-and-comer. No, royals typically eliminate the competition. Jonathan may have been honorable, but his father sure wasn't. Saul simply did not make due on his promises to David. Much of chapter 18 deals with Saul's promise of marriage to his daughters, which Saul used as bait to lure David into a fatal heroic deed. David's response was that he was not worthy to be the king's son-in-law because he was lowly and poor. Almost overlooked in the narrative is that David should have already been very rich, and he should have already married Saul's daughter, because riches, tax exemption for his family, and a royal matrimony had been promised to whomever defeated Goliath. In chapter 17, David verified that offer 3 times before he fought the giant. 1 Samuel 17, verse 25. Previously, an Israelite man had declared, "Do you see this man who keeps coming out? He comes to defy Israel. The king will make the man who kills him very rich and will give him his daughter. The king will also make the household of that man's father exempt from paying taxes in Israel." 1 Samuel 17, verse 27. The people told David about the author, concluding, "That is what will be done for the man who kills him." 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 30. And then David turned from those beside him to others in front of him and asked about the author a 3rd time. The people gave him the same answer as before. Oh, the short-term memory of political promises. Aren't we thankful to have God's unchanging word and his consistent character to depend upon? I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. You know, Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And if you're being ministered to through the Bible teaching at Groundworks Ministries, and you'd like to help us to reach this generation with the gospel, would you consider donating to Groundworks Ministries today? Donating is secure and it's easy at our website. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.